Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me? I don't know what it matters because I feel like I'm just about to throw up. Why is it muted on there? I thought it was gonna be at noon. And then I was like, "Oh, no, they'll probably wait till 1. They'll probably get 1."
And we are coming on with breaking news. We're expecting a verdict in the trial of Blendon Township Police Officer Connor Grubb at any moment now. I'm Tracy Townsend. We'll be joined with some other colleagues shortly. Of course, this is the murder trial of Connor Grubb, who is facing charges in the death of 21-year-old Takaya Young. We're going to walk you through what happened here back in August of 2023.
Hold on. Sorry,
Young was
guys.
accused of stealing alcohol from that Kroger on Sunbury Road. This brings us to the trial. I'm going to get you to the courtroom. We expect to hear something right now.
Oh my God.
We are waiting for the alternate jurors to come in. As you can see, the courtroom is settled as we are awaiting the verdict in this murder trial. Connor Grubb, the Blendon Township police officer, who is facing charges of murder, involuntary manslaughter, and felonious assault. Again, you saw that video from the Kroger store. Grubb is accused. They used this body camera video to show officers confronting Takaya, who was in her car. An officer could be heard telling her to get out of the car. Moments later, Young turns the steering wheel and accelerates while Officer Connor Grubb is standing in front of her, and that is when Grubb fired the single shot through the windshield of her car, hitting Young, killing Young and her unborn baby. At the time, she was 25 to 28 weeks pregnant. Now, we again are at the courtroom there in Franklin County as we are awaiting the verdict to come in. This is a very fluid situation. You saw everyone settled in the court. We were waiting for an alternate juror to get there. Once they get settled, the judge will give some instructions, and then we will hear the verdict. If I could find out from the crew. Okay, thank you. We're going back to the courtroom. As you can see, we've got the prosecution and the defense there waiting. And so we want to take a minute to hear what they are saying right now. Okay, we're not getting any audio.
Yeah, no shit.
But again, we have been waiting for this trial that's lasted almost 2 weeks. This is day 3 of the deliberations. You might recall that we told you that on just yesterday, they had to bring in an alternate juror as someone got sick. And so this is a trial that started on the 3rd of November, jury selection. We know this jury is made up of 8 women and 4 men. We haven't heard from Grubb himself. In the course of the trial, we did, though, hear his statement that he gave to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation after the shooting, BCI. I am joined now in studio with my colleague Angela Ann. We have been following this obviously from the start in August of 2023. And now here we are waiting for the verdict.
And a lot of emotions, Tracy, with this case, obviously.
The jury's reached a
I
verdict.
think we can hear the
the
jury
jury's
right now. So let's go back into the courtroom real
Anything on
quick.
the record prior to beginning the jurors? All right, let's go get the jurors. Oh, hold on. Tell Rachel to stop.
Yeah, tell them not to make any noises.
Alternates first.
Yeah.
What's going on?
This is Tracy Townsend along with Angela Ann. We are on 10 TV Plus, breaking into 10 TV with the reading of the verdict in the Connor Grubb murder trial.
Let's take a listen into what they're saying right now.
Everybody, please make sure your phones are on silent or off. We'll have a surprise interruptions.
Somebody hit the lights.
No, that would be.
You hit the top. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm really not too talkative. I just what do I say? We can talk about my bad hair day. Day 2. At the press. Oh,
All
not the
right, so
press.
we are again waiting for what is expected to be an emotional moment as the jury has reached a verdict in the Connor Grubb murder trial. This is in Franklin County Common Pleas Court with Judge David Young. No relation to Kaya Young out of this. We do want to point that out. And in the course of this particular trial, Judge Young dropped 4 out of the original 10 counts against Connor Grubb on Tuesday.
Yes, and that was related to the unborn child,
Mhm.
I have
basically
a
saying
scrunchie.
that the prosecution never presented evidence that the officer knew that Takai was pregnant at the time of the shooting. So right now, that gentleman on the forefront, that is Mark Collins, who is the defense attorney, Connor Grubb, standing just behind him there, a little bit visible as well, but obviously they're waiting for the jury to come in, to be seated, as they are right now.
Yes.
That's the
All right, want to listen?
The first verdict is we, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of felonious assault as charged in count 1 of the indictment, signed this 21st day of November 2025 by each and every juror. Second verdict, we, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of felonious assault as charged in count 2 of the indictment, signed this 21st day of November 2025 by each and every juror. Third verdict, we, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of murder as charged in count 3 of the indictment, signed this 21st day of November 2025 by each and every juror. Fourth verdict, we, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of murder as charged in count 4 of the indictment, signed this 21st day of November 2025 by each and every juror. Fifth verdict, we, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of involuntary manslaughter as charged in count 5. Sixth verdict, We, the jury, upon our oaths of law and evidence in this case, find the defendant not guilty of involuntary manslaughter as charged in count 6 of the indictment. Do you want the jury pooled?
Oh, thank
Ladies and
God.
gentlemen, on behalf of the community in court,
Thank
thank you so
God.
much for doing your civic duty.
Thank you.
You're all free from admonitions and instructions.
Oh. Oh. I'm so sorry for her family.
Everyone could have a seat. Mr. Grubb, Mr. Grubb, you're.
This is what happened the other day. Did I not tell you?
Mr. Grubb, you're hereby discharged. What? Yes, I think that's fine. Are we going to get a deputy assistant for the juries?
Yes.
Have just been watching. The verdicts are in, not guilty on all of the charges for Connor Grubb.
Clearly a very emotional courtroom. You see Connor Grubb now walking away with some of his family members, but just moments ago, you could clearly hear the family of Takaya Young, very emotional, gut-wrenching, in fact, saying, this is not right, this is not right, you're walking away free. And the judge quickly said, Connor Grubb, you are now discharged, you are free. And so again, not guilty on all counts of felonious assault, murder, and involuntary manslaughter. You also heard, as they read the verdicts, that they said that this was by unanimous counts.
Yes, and we heard Judge Young ask if they wanted to poll the jurors, and the answer, I think, Angela, was a resounding no.
Yes.
So we did hear that, and of course, we did hear the emotion of Takaya's grandmother. That sounded like who I recognized her from the video. So again, we have the information on your screen, as you can see, counts 1 through 4. We're talking about felonious assault and murder, not guilty on those counts. And again, Connor Grubb found not guilty on all of the counts that he was facing out of this August 2023. This whole incident we've been following for that entire time.
Okay.
More than 2 years that we have been following this very emotional case. And really at the crux of the case was whether or not this shooting was justified. Again, it started as a shoplifting call. There were 2 officers on the scene. Connor Grubb had always maintained that he shot in self-defense when he saw that car come towards him. And so the question of whether this was justified or not, there were experts on both sides, defending either position, but clearly the jury coming back with this unanimous verdict saying he is not guilty of all counts involving the death of.
Okay. I don't think we need to listen to that any longer. I just got a text from my mom saying, "Are you okay?" And I know everyone talks about like people crying on screen and how like cringe it is. And in many cases I agree. I have 0 regrets right now. Guys, this is a great day. I'm trying to collect myself. Hold on. I don't care if you guys watch at this point. I promise I'll have thoughts. Just don't. Oh, fuck. You're right, Huskies. I'm sorry for you guys. Ugh. I can only imagine that was not easy for the jurors. And not because it was a situation where, like, it, for nothing other than the reason of the sort of response that we saw. I don't want them to walk away thinking that their contribution isn't appreciated, because nothing could be further than the truth. Those jurors are so appreciated, and I'm going to be honest, they would have been regardless. To be a juror is an incredible way to support American justice and democracy. And I've been laying in bed since last night, just preparing for the worst after that question yesterday. And by preparing for the worst, I mean, like, how will I react knowing that he would be going to jail for something that I would have done in the same exact situation? Like, putting myself in his shoes, like, I kept thinking, like, is LawTube for me? And not LawTube, but, like, you know what I'm saying, covering trials. And I think it is. This was just a situation for so many of us, like those in the chat here in Columbus who either have a figurative or literal close connection. Thanks, John. John gifted a membership. Make sure if you are watching and you receive the membership to say thanks to John. We would have anarchy if officers like Connor Grubb keep getting sent to prison for defending their lives. I mean, we would have no one to police. So yeah, it would be a citizens police situation, which, God, could you imagine what a cluster that would be? Did you hear? Thank you again, John. Did you hear if Grubb's family needed protection again last night. Relief that he was found not guilty, but worried about reaction. When I say, and I have an answer to that, Stream Mama. When I say that he has people protecting not just him, not just the family, I mean it. Enough people have noticed that he's had people saying some really bad things, and that kind of reaction is concerning. But I feel like the security being provided is appropriate, and it is I'm a fucking nobody, you know? And like some of the things that I want to say, like I'm scared to say. But yeah, they're okay. And they will be okay. That wasn't even like a quarter of his family, you guys. The two, he and his wife together, like it's ginormous. So he has an incredible support system. And I need to know that it's okay for me to share what I know before I share it, Stream Mama. Because I know the answer, but I don't know if I should say. I don't know if that was one of the things that was said in confidence. I don't know if he'll move and start over. I don't know. But I do know that, like I said, they have an incredible support system. And if things hadn't gone this way today, can you imagine what that would have done within the field of law enforcement? Can you imagine? Yes, he is on administrative leave from his department pending the results of this trial. So, and the levy passed, so they have enough money to pay him. That's what I meant by that. Or Tennessee. I don't know. Tennessee, no, not Tennessee, Texas, they just went through that trial with the 3 officers, right? So I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. I actually did not look at that case at all. Oh my God, Key West PD is hiring? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just deal with drunk people all the time. Like, maybe a couple domestics because of the alcohol, but yeah. Here, I like this comment. Our Key West video is funny. I haven't seen any. At least none that come to mind. All right. As a celebration, I have something for you guys. Enjoy my candy cane pants. Oh, you can't see them. Never mind. You're lost. Yes. Oh God, his family just. I thought I had finally gotten it together. I'm cool. Don't be weird. I'm cool. You're cool too. I'm not crying. You're crying. Stop. But I have something. It's supposed to be really funny, but I can't seem to get it together. I have scrunchies that I might just send to the Hamilton County prosecutor's office because I feel like she's going to get a whole lot more out of these than I will. I feel so much better, guys. I needed the scrunchie. Yeah. Does anyone want to go to Jazzercise later? No? Yeah. Just call. Yeah, I'm particularly drawn to the royal blue. Oh. You know, I do have a leotard. I probably could dress like Richard Simmons. Slimmons. See what I did there? I am in a state of shock. Oh. I do want to see that and that. Never mind. Hold on. Apparently someone is speaking. Wait, no. Okay. Let's watch this.
Find the meaning in this. I mean, I think in this moment, it's tough because what we see is, you know, even beyond this family. I mean, there are people throughout this country that witnessed what happened. There are
Probably behind the cameras.
Is this the walk of shame?
Look at the cameras.
Could y'all take a step to your left, please?
Here.
Well, whoever's talking can be in the middle. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Someone's very bossy back there.
Can you tell us what you think about the jury's verdict?
Well, we respect the jury's verdict.
Thank
You
you.
know, it was a little more than 15 months ago that a grand jury comprised of citizens from right here in Franklin County indicted this defendant, meaning that they found probable cause that he should be criminally charged and that this case should proceed to trial. And the family members of Takaya Young and her unborn child deserved to have a jury hear the evidence in this case and make a determination as to whether or not the defendant, the officer in this case, his use of deadly force was justified or was it not? And their verdict today spoke to that. They've made their decision. And whether or not the state agrees with it is irrelevant. It's the jury's decision. They spoke to that. And it's always been a matter of the citizens of Franklin County through their jury to determine what is and what is not an acceptable use of deadly force in their community.
Can you talk to me about maybe?
That's actually very impressive.
The difficulty of your role as a special prosecutor to come in here and try this case.
Well, you know, it's never easy first off to come into a court in a county that you're not familiar with. Obviously, the judges, the defense counsel, everything that goes along with that. But more importantly, you know, it never brings pleasure, certainly to a prosecutor, to be prosecuting a police officer for criminal charges. But that's how our system works. And that's our job as special prosecutors, was essentially to come in here and make sure the jury got a full presentation of the evidence and the facts, a fair presentation of what the facts were in this case, so that they could make an informed decision. And that's what they did.
Dan, there were a lot of emotions in that room from everybody, both sides and the jury. Seeing those emotions, it had to have been hard for you guys as well. What did you think of all the emotion in the room?
You know, it's an emotionally charged case. It's a difficult case, I think, from both sides, obviously, for the families from both sides of things. And unfortunately, at this time, I've not yet had a chance to sit down with Takaya's family and to get their, you know, their thoughts, obviously their emotions. Certainly, I'm confident to say they're disappointed in the verdict, and I'll have that conversation with them. But there's no surprise there's emotions involved, as there should be. They've lost, you know, their daughter, their granddaughter, family member who's not going to come back.
And when you have that conversation with them, how are you going to approach this?
Oh, let's do 1.5.
Well, I'm not going to share that in public. That's a conversation that I'm going to have with them in private, out of respect for them.
Every case is different. Will you guys get a chance to speak with the jurors in this case?
Counsel's not speaking with the jurors in this case. As you probably noticed, the jury was emotional when the verdicts were read. So they've gone through, I've lost track, a 3-week trial. And we certainly thank them for the dedication that they put in for these 3 weeks, these long days, and not only listening to and considering the evidence, but their deliberation. So it's been emotional for the jurors as well. We've gone through 3 days of deliberation. That tells you it wasn't an easy decision for them as to whether this was justified or not.
Can you talk a little bit about the strategy of using his statement in your case, potentially keeping him off of the stand, and what, you know, maybe a different strategic decision he would have been on the stand and that could have influenced the case? Is that something you guys have thought about?
Well, you know, strategy goes into it to a certain extent, but more importantly, wanting the jury to have a full concept of what the facts in the case were. That's the most important thing to the state of Ohio, is to not to be hiding evidence. We wanted them to have the defendant's statement, whether or not he took the stand. And that was important for us to put in front of them.
Is there anything else you guys want to add?
I don't have anything further.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know what? Stand up. Thank you. I can
You've just been
respect
listening
what you
to
just
some
said.
comments from the special prosecutors assigned to this case, talking about the emotion of that 3 days of deliberation and their respect for the jurors in their decision.
Let's listen to
Certainly they had to listen to a lot of expert testimony, but
ambulance
also testimony,
chaser.
you know, about
Caitlin and
the moments
Mark
that
speak now.
Officer Grubb, he did not testify, but
Right.
they read his statement that he had given to BCI, you know, about what happened that day.
Oh. Hey guys, if you're watching right now, because I know you are, lurkers included, can you please like the stream? Can you please share the stream? You can even make fun of me for crying or the scrunchie. If you could make sure that you are subscribed to my channel, because that is free. And what else am I missing? Stream Mama? One of my mods? Anyone? Just that would help me out. I'm really genuinely blanking right now. Holy crap. I feel like I've been through a month's worth of emotions in the last hour.
We know that the family, as the prosecutor said, very emotional. He's not going to share what he spoke with them about, but we could hear the grandmother emotional as she left. And right now we're listening to Sean Walton, who's the family attorney.
Years, the heartbreak of knowing what happened initially and believing for years that justice would be served, and just understanding how hard it is to convict a police officer in this country. the burden is high for murder already. It's even higher when an officer is involved. And it's also heartbreaking because what it does is it normalizes behavior like what Connor Grubb exhibited that day. And that is not normal behavior. We look at these recent killings, these recent police killings in Columbus, and you have officers who have an unreasonable and irrational fear with no weapons involved, or folks doing very minimal behavior that they escalate into a murder. It's not normal behavior.
Nobody knew if she had a gun or not. She had 9 things of stolen Tide detergent. She had several bottles of liquor totaling over $500. But let's continue. Let's continue to blame the people that come and rush towards us when we're in danger, because that sounds like a really good plan that's going to pay off.
It's not something that should be normalized. It is something that I believe that police officers don't want to see normalized because it's just not justifiable. And so what this did was it's an example of a situation that could be deemed to be justified in the future. I think we all agree that this is a tragedy that should never have happened. Connor Grubb was a trained officer that day. Takaya Young had a gun placed in her face, and she had a split-second decision to make. And I cannot say what I would do in that situation. But I can say Connor Grubb also struggled in a split-second situation with years of training. And so we have to have de-escalation. We cannot have officers who pull a gun in a petty theft situation. 2 lives were lost. It's not just about Takaya. It's an unborn daughter that does not get to step foot on this earth. And you have sons who grew up without their mother. And it's just heartbreaking. My hope is that we all understand that there cannot be 2 justice systems in America. We just cannot have it that way. We have to have accountability that looks the same for everybody, no matter what uniform you're wearing, no matter what color you are. We have to understand that wrong is wrong. And it's just heartbreaking to know that the family has to deal with this in this moment. But we'll keep fighting. You know, we have a civil suit that is ongoing, and we'll keep pushing forward.
How does this verdict impact your civil suit?
It doesn't. I mean, the burden in the civil suit is lower, and I have no doubt that we will meet that burden. No doubt about that whatsoever. But, in this moment, that doesn't bring the family any solace. I mean, they're not thinking about the civil part, and they wanted him to go to jail, to go to prison. And so, we'll push forward. And
John, you've said many things this morning that I couldn't agree with more, and hopefully the rest of the chat is seeing them. I just don't feel safe putting them on my screen. I say that as a very pro Second Amendment. We have an arsenal in my home and are ready to protect ourselves person. But never want to ever think that I have to do that. But you've said some magnificent things that I couldn't agree more with. I just I don't want to catch any more strays.
Civil cases afford us a bit more opportunity to dig into the systemic things that happened here and to really ensure that across the board, we can make sure that these incidents don't happen again. But we're pushing forward, it's active, and we're ready to go.
It's important to understand that this is a criminal finding. This isn't a moral finding. This isn't a civil finding. Takaya and her daughter should be alive today. And as Attorney Walton said, we shouldn't live by 2 different standards or 2 different set of rules for two different sets of people. Connor Grubb was a professional. Takaya Young was a civilian. We expect her to act a particular way in a particular circumstance. We don't expect Connor Grubb to exhibit the same level of professionalism. So this fight will continue, as Attorney Walton said, in the civil court. We will hold them accountable by any means we can, and we will continue trying to seek justice for this family. This family's devastated. Candidly, we are as well, but we're not exhausted. The fight will continue. We'll continue to push forward to get justice for this family.
Sean, every morning we saw you guys gather out there and pray. How important is faith to you guys right now in this moment?
It's kept Miss Nadine going throughout this time. I think every interview she's given, she's talked about her faith in God and believing that things will work out in their favor. And so the hope is that they can find a meaning in this. I mean, I think in this moment, it's tough because what we see is, even beyond this family, I mean, there are people throughout this country that witnessed what happened. There are police officers who witnessed what happened that believe that it's wrong.
Yes,
and so,
Dream Mama.
again, I think it's a tragedy. It's an American tragedy, truly. It's the first time that we've had an officer indicted for killing a pregnant woman on duty. And my hope is that it's the last time it happens. Unfortunately, the result does not lend itself to holding officers accountable and ensuring that they think twice.
How does this affect your outlook on some of the other cases around Franklin County, specifically Franklin County Sheriff?
Yes, Lefty.
Yeah, our hope is that we'll get a set of jurors on those cases that will see the tragedy in those cases as we hope they would have seen in this case. Jason Mead's case is coming up, and then Officer Anderson's case is coming up, and the Donovan Lewis case as well. We've had a conviction, fortunately, in one of these cases. Adam Coy, we had a conviction, and we're hopeful that the truth of that case will bleed over into these other cases. Unfortunately, it didn't happen here. We respect the jury and their consideration. We're disappointed. We don't believe the evidence should have led them to this result, but we have a system of justice in this country, and we have to follow it. But we're confident that the next round when we deal with Meade and Anderson moving forward, that there will be justice found in those cases as well.
Let me just say, based off of what he just said, the people, the citizens of my county, of Franklin County, we are the ones that get to decide on these sort of things. Sir, read the room. Read the room. You're just wasting more and more and more money with these lawsuits.
I know you spoke with the family, right? But what did you tell them? What did they tell you?
I think, they believe that there would be a conviction. I mean, up until the moment that the words were read, there was no doubt that there would be a conviction. And so I could see the energy kind of deflate out of, both Miss Nadine and, Mr. Tim, Kai's father. And you heard the frustration out there. Candidly, my daughters knew about this case and they're 7 and 9 years old. And that part is heartbreaking.
Did you try to bring them to court,
Folks,
sir?
we need to have a real conversation about policing in this country, not just in this community, but how we as a community view police officers and law enforcement. Unfortunately, what I believe happened here is that there tends to be a default when it comes to law enforcement, because we're taught that we need law enforcement for every single thing, when the reality is perhaps we need to reevaluate the way we police communities, certainly the way we police communities of color. Because what we found disproportionately is that when it comes to people of color are shot and killed, not given the grace of any sort of relief from these officers. So we need to have a real conversation about what it means to police.
What, street justice?
Community, and what it means to police when it comes to Black and brown folks in this country.
Are you worried about how the community is going to reflect on this? Are you worried about riots? Are you worried about?
Yeah, I would say this, and I'm not going to speak for Attorney Walton, but I don't like to direct people on how to conduct themselves when it comes to issues like this. When you live in communities that are impacted by law enforcement in a way which this case shows, I don't think it's fair to judge those communities. So I'm not going to sit here and tell the community how they should conduct themselves. I understand what I'm supposed to say here today, which is everybody be peaceful and pray and kind of take their time. But the reality is we're feeling the same way that they're feeling. I've got 2 sons. Like Sean says, he's got 2 daughters. They have to grow up in this world, and we have to teach them a whole different standard when it comes to if they run into the police. We see our children in Takai's case. So respectfully, I'm not going to presume to judge the community on how they conduct themselves.
And I'll say, I think rioting is doing the community a disservice. I believe there will be systemic change. I believe there will be an informed community that understands the system and understands what we're up against. Jurors don't get paid a lot. They don't have childcare. Many times, folks who would bring a different perspective are not on the jury. I think we saw 3 Black jurors dismissed by the defense in this. And, there was no reasoning stated. So
there was a Black juror, just so you guys know.
Considering the facts here and who's bringing a different perspective into the jury, room during those deliberations. And so, again, understanding the system, you can prevent this from happening in the future in a different way. And so I think what we see is 4 officers who are facing, a jury for their actions on duty for killing people. And that's different. That's progress that we have not had before. We're seeing transparency more and more. I believe what happened here was very transparent. And so, it goes beyond rioting. It goes to understanding the systems at play. Those who come in and defend, these bad officers in those moments and normalize that behavior. I think they should also feel some shame there because they know how they feel about the shooting as well. For sure.
What about kids and the impact on this case? We saw the family bring Takai's 2 sons to court yesterday. They didn't stay very long, but we then saw some commenting online about they wanted the jury to see the kids. Who's they? I mean, it feels a little performative. Like, what was the purpose of having them here? And
yeah, so I can't tell anybody how to act in that moment. I mean, if somebody close to me was killed and my family experienced that throughout this process, I would want them to know this is what the system looks like. This is what accountability. This is what being held accountable looks like. And so I would certainly just understand that for them, they don't know what happened to their mom outside. A police officer took her life, and it was unjust.
Didn't think I was going to be brought up in a press conference.
So I don't think it was performative. I don't think it was
on my bingo card today
to bring out any emotion. I mean, you can't be any more emotional than what was already taking place. I mean, a baby was killed. We saw autopsy photos of a baby, and so there's no need to bring any more emotion out here. And honestly, I mean, they showed restraint throughout that time. They did not try to do anything to influence this process at all. So, I have nothing but respect for them. My heart goes out to those boys because their experience with the system is not a very kind one, and they'll have to live with that for a while.
Anything you want to say to the jury?
No, I mean, the jury didn't do anything wrong here. Connor Grubb is the one who pulled the trigger. Connor Grubb is the one who has us all here right now. Again, many folks try to point out Takai's actions, and I think, again, normalizing what untrained, scared citizens. We have no understanding of their mental capacity, how fast they react to commands. You have one person shouting at her right here. You have a gun pointed in your face right here, and you don't know why because you're talking to this person right here. And so, You know, she did not press the gas in that moment. She clearly did not want to harm him. But I think his intent showed from the time he came up and pulled the gun that he was going to harm her. He was going to shoot her if he had to do so. And for some reason, he believed he had to do so, despite the fact that she was being calm and talking to his partner, who also was shocked at the gunshot. That's the one that's reasonable. That's the one who, you know, should be judged by that standard right there, because he understood, I'm going to talk to her, use my de-escalation tactics that I've been trained to utilize. I just you know, don't understand how we can normalize this officer making a decision to take a life with her trying to avoid him at a slow speed.
You guys have talked about the case and the principles of policing in the Black community. You're both Black parents. Will this verdict inform any conversations you're having with the kids tonight moving forward?
We have conversations all the time. And I'm not going to speak for Sean, but my sons are aware of what I do, but we try to keep them shielded as long as possible as we can from the realities of being, in my case, a Black male in this country. But I know the day is going to come when they're going to have a conversation that says you need to conduct yourself a certain way just so you survive this encounter with law enforcement. And when it comes to being Black in America, when it comes to policing in Black America, there's two different sets of rules. You know, we're told not to jump to conclusions, but I can't help but wonder if Takaya would have been a white woman, how would he have conducted himself in that particular scenario? Would he have shown her the grace that Takaya and her child deserve? That's the question that we're all left with, because Takaya is not here to answer those questions either. Her child's not here to live a full life. She leaves behind two sons, so who also unfortunately would have to have those conversations as well. So we really need to reevaluate the conversations we're having. And respectfully, what we would ask moving forward, you know, there's a lot of media coverage. There's a lot of coverage of the theft portion of this case, and we understand it can be sensational at times. But the reality is, stealing liquor at a grocery store doesn't mean a death warrant.
Oh my God!
And if we're going to be the type of country we
of course it
want
doesn't.
to be, the way we treat people who even are accused of crimes says a lot about who we are as a country. So unfortunately, you know, I will have those conversations at some point. Hopefully not soon, but it's inevitable when you're living the Black experience in this country.
I couldn't help but notice both of you kind of stopped emotionalizing and speaking to us, swallow a little bit. You spend a lot of time with this family. Is there anything that you want to say to them? I'm sure you'll say it, but is there anything you want the community to know?
Yeah, that we all know the truth and that we're fighting for them. You know, it is emotional in so many ways. You know, to answer your question, my daughters will probably cry when they hear the news, because you cannot shield them from, you know, the realities of what happens. And this one's always been tough, because not only was she a woman, but she was pregnant. And while they're taking in the reality of what happens too many times, to internalize that, to know that, you know, these little girls could have that same fear, they're going to take it hard. Not quite sure what I'm going to say. I mean, a few years ago, my daughter asked if the mean man that did what he did to Casey is going to come get her. You know, I mean, these are things that too many communities are having to internalize and process and wonder if you'll be next. And will there be any justice for what happens to you?
Who my friend goes to church with.
You know, Robert and I fight these cases because, unfortunately, when people don't take the time to assess, to consider the situation, it could be me next. It could be Robert next. You know, I have a suit on right now. If I look otherwise, who knows how I'll be treated? And so it's important that we figure out how we all talk about this stuff, right? To Robert's point, like to normalize and to talk about the theft when there's a murder that also took place. I mean, those two things aren't even in time contextually. There's a reason why that encounter happened, but Moynihan is what the reaction.
If anyone knows this man, would you just like politely, just very, very subtly tell him that Connor Grubb was found not guilty? And he sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about right now. And for once, I think Scrunchy Girl would have been able to articulate this a bit better. Just respectfully.
Was to the theft. Grubb came up and pulled his gun out because he saw his partner talking to a woman at the car, and she wouldn't get out the car. She put his gun out. I mean, that's just not normal behavior. And you know, yeah.
And to the family, what I would say is, and they know this, we're with you, and we're going to be with you, and just like all the other families we represent, we take these cases because they mean something to us. I mean, we live in the same country, we live the same experience. So when we go home, we can't leave these cases at the office because we live them, and they mean more to us because of what it means to our children, to our family. Like Sean said,
okay,
this could be a suit or no suit, because the reality is when you're Black in this country, you're looked at as a threat when you should be given some grace to just live in this country.
You should know that they are the attorney for Takaya Young's family. They talked a lot about Takaya's grandmother, Nadine, and the emotions that she's going through. But the one thing they did say was that this fight is not over.
That's right.
They do have a civil lawsuit, and they said that this criminal trial should not impact that civil trial because, in their opinion, the burden of proof of whether the shooting was justified is much lower in a civil trial in terms of what jurors have to consider compared to what they had to consider through this criminal trial.
And there really is a lot to unpack from their Q&A. They talked about the family's disappointment, and
they didn't deny the thing that I said on my stream that the reporter brought up. Girl, you could have just called me. I would have told you. Like, anyways, they didn't deny what I said. If you guys didn't catch on to that, I cannot believe that was said.
Emotion and frustration, and you could hear also their mention of other pending cases involving police and policing in Columbus and around the country.
Yes, yes, and they said that to them, their opinion, the burden is too high in this country, which is why they feel like there are not enough convictions. We want to bring you back to when this verdict first came down just about an hour ago. We learned that there was a verdict, waited for the jury to come in, the families and all the other
I
teams to come
thought
in.
that maybe we would hear from Mark and Caitlin, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think we're done. I think we're done with that. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, anything? Yeah, I agree, John. On the other hand, I feel like those attorneys had a professional obligation to come out and give their hype man speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, that it's going to be better in the civil trial and we're going to do this and people are somehow going to change their minds. This is how I'm just going to stream for the rest of this. I don't know how that lady keeps her hair in a scrunchie. I think that was just his professional duty that we just saw. Now, do I think that after this trial that the civil case is going to be successful? Based on what I know about civil trials, but I know that Ohio's different. So based on what I know in Ohio, I would say that it's going to be a difficult thing for them to prove. But if it were any other state, I think that they would probably be successful. Oh, thank you, Lori Jean. Lori Jean. I feel like I need to do this in my shoulders when I say Lori Jean. And I definitely don't want to give the impression that what happened wasn't tragic. I've said that, I think, like every day of this stream, regardless of how I feel about how it was handled. I feel very deeply. I feel very sorry that lives were lost. Because that's who I am. I am in that regard, I am a bench sitter or a fence sitter. I can see both sides of a situation and be like, "Oh yeah, that might make me sad too." But I think that this gave me a little bit more hope in the American justice system. That it was unanimous and that what? Okay, never mind. We got to start they spoke to the other. Mark and Caitlin did do a speaking thing. Damn it.
when they read the not guilty verdicts.
We, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case.
With these types of cases. So we're thankful for the effort, but you saw the emotion they had. You saw the pain that we placed them in this situation. And really, it's uncalled for. And what I mean by that is our system is set up that when you indict a police officer with an expert at the grand jury level, and you start from that premise, of course you're going to get charged. So I'm speaking in general now, you guys, and I hope you don't mind my soapbox, but the grand jury system has to change. Our legislature has to change. To try to indict an officer on felony murder is unconscionable. And
Mr. Collins, your girl's a lobbyist. I know you got my phone number, sir. Or I know that you know how to get my phone number.
understand reckless homicide. I understand other aspects. And if an officer purposely does something, absolutely, then the charge of murder. But the way this process goes right now, we need our legislatures, we need our elected officials to step up. But on behalf of Connor and his family, they thank all the jurors for their service. They thank, for putting the effort in the time. And you saw their emotion as well. For the rest of his life, he has to deal with this.
No,
Trust me, you didn't get to hear from him because the government put his statement on, but he feels he took a life and on duty and realized another's life after the fact. And to walk around with that and that is a difficult situation. In terms of the other stuff, I was able to hear some of the civil attorneys, but they have a job to do. I get it. But what's happening is they're tainting potential jurors. They're tainting the jury pool in Franklin County. And again, we have to change the process for our change of venue stuff. We have to have a fair situation here. So again, we're very thankful for the service of the jurors, and it's an impossible situation that they're put in. And we believe that they follow the law and they follow this. The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is no matter what you say from any angle, a car was used towards a London Township police officer, and he had to react. And so that's the society that we live in. And this isn't a racial case. It has nothing to do with any aspect of that. But that's the bottom line of the situation. It's just not that complicated in terms of this.
When I consider about some of the issues that were brought up in court, the body worn camera video being played out and the family's emotional reaction during that, and at the end of the rebuttal, some of the statements by the special prosecutor, did you fear that was going to harm the jury in their decision making?
Well, from a defense standpoint, you have to protect the record. And so in that aspect, those types of things, do I want to bring those to light? Do I want to put those out there? No. I mean, how am I going to tell a family that lost a loved one and a potential granddaughter of how they're supposed to feel in that? But unfortunately, we have to have some sort of decorum in the courtroom. We have to have those processes. So when I probably, in how many trials I've done, I've probably objected maybe 5 or 6 times in a closing. But again, there's certain points that and what I'm speaking of is there's certain points in these cases that it's easy to cross the line if you're the prosecutor. It's easy to cross the line if you're the defense attorney because it's so nuanced and the case law is so difficult. But that's where our legislature has to step in. Our state legislature has to step in and come up with jury instructions that are vetted, that go through things. Every time in these cases, any judge that has one of these has to, in fact, create jury instructions. And they're case specific. But our legislature has to step in as well as our elected officials to prevent this type of situation. And I think you're going to say something.
Stream mama.
You guys have spent a lot of time with Connor, and I assume his family as well. So in that moment when the judge was reading the verdict, you guys just spoke with them. What was it like for them?
It's a relief. I mean, they've lived this every single day for the last 2 years as well. And so, they're relieved that justice was served.
From day one, Connor Grubb has 2 young children. Connor Grubb from day one said, why can't I testify grand jury? Why can't I tell them what happened? Because he said, I don't understand why.
Right before the verdict was read, you guys, I just want to share this. I was sent a photo of he with his kids, and it's not public. It was sent specifically to me. Along with a text that says tears of joy everywhere. So I'll let them keep speaking, but these kids, they were his center this entire time. Thank God he didn't take a plea deal.
Why? And unfortunately, we told him, you're going to get indicted. And he couldn't comprehend that in his mind because of the type of person he is, because his entire life has been dedicated to serving his country in the Marines. He was deployed twice. He was deployed twice in the Marines. He has 2 little children. His wife is a part-time teacher. This is what they do. And that's what he did at London Township. And so it's very difficult for him to sit in a chair when you have an expert like Seth Stoughton, who has never testified on behalf of a police officer, telling you that you shouldn't stand in front of a car and that therefore you're guilty and therefore you're going to prison for 15 years to the parole board.
But we knew the writing was on the wall, which is what the point was.
What did Officer Grubb say? Has he said anything about saying on as a police officer?
That part is personal right now. What he told us is thank you so much, and he started to cry, and so did his wife, and they have other things to say, but that's between them, and they're going to need some time on this.
Have they talked about his plans for the future now?
We haven't talked to them about that. It's
One day at a time.
Yeah, it's one day at a time. If it's a not guilty verdict and your life goes on, you're always affected. Like we said in this case, everyone in that courtroom is affected from this, and it will impact them for the rest of their lives. But how do you talk about what you're going to do in the future when you might be going to prison for a life sentence with no chance to parole 15 years, or you're walking out the door? So, those types of things are difficult, and in time, I'm sure they will. But they wanted us to express their thanks to the community, to the support that they've gotten, and they understand the other side. They understand the frustration, the sorrow, and the pain that Ms. Young's family feels, and it's real. So.
If you have security concerns at all, I think there are extra deputies outside the courtroom. I know there's been some comments here and there. Are you concerned at all that there's going to be issues related to Edmund's family?
Let me answer that question. Because we're involved in these types of cases, and there's been issues in other cases, we're always trying to prepare for that. And that's why I think that the FOP and the support system and officers who are retired officers here supporting them, that's the kind of security that they need and stuff like that. And your question about that, I'd like to go to a different level. It's difficult nowadays in a courtroom when people have a right to protest. People have a right to get a permit and do their stuff. But when you're sitting right next to jurors who are waiting for a ride home, when you're all in other areas and stuff like that, again, it places everybody in a difficult situation, because both sides, all three sides, the judge, the prosecution, and the defense, they just want a fair trial. And so what happens is, because these are such emotional cases, and because the feelings run so deep, that people end up acting a certain way and doing a certain way sometimes that maybe they wouldn't do in a normal type case and stuff like that. So that's the hard part in these types of cases.
You guys already spoken about the need for change, but what do you think this verdict means for future cases that you guys are part of involving officers?
I mean, I just really think it's a case by case basis. So I don't think that this sends a message to any of the other cases or anything like that. As you know, everything is.
All right, so you have been listening to the defense attorneys here, Mark Collins and Caitlin Stevens, giving their comments on the not guilty verdict. We are going to leave you here on 10 TV, and we're going to continue our coverage over on 10 TV Plus.
And we should note that the reason we broke into regular programming is because this is such an important case here in Franklin County, involving officer-involved shootings. Franklin County does have a high rate. This trial also has high interest as well, especially when there was a young woman who was pregnant that was killed. But you heard from the defense attorney saying that Connor Grubb himself started to cry at the end of this verdict.
So we'll have more on noon at 10 TV News at noon. We're going to head over to 10
Wow.
TV Plus.
Okay. All right. Well, they managed to cover the other perspectives, but not Caitlin and Mark's. That's why people don't like the mainstream media. So I'm going to end this with one comment that I've received. Justice was upheld today, reassuring everyone that there is still right in this world and justice prevails. And this person said a couple of things to me, thanking me for covering this, and wants you to know that they appreciate the support. So let's just, like I said last night, keep everyone involved in our prayers and our thoughts. And I will be back. I will be back soon. I need to, my assumption is that we get through Thanksgiving, because I don't think there are going to be a lot of cases to cover next week. No one wants to start a trial smack dab in the middle of Thanksgiving week, but the week after, we can go from there. And I'll be checking in here and there. And I appreciate you guys supporting the stream, supporting me, supporting the family, and I hope to see you on here soon for my next trial that I'll be covering. And I hope that you guys have a really great and safe weekend. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And once again, jurors, if you're out there, if you do want to provide some feedback once you've had a moment to relax, I can promise you a fair and balanced interview. And you don't have to be on camera, but I will be strongly vetting who you are, just because I have the ability to know who was in court on the jury and who was not. Okay, so with that being said, happy Thanksgiving. If I don't see you before then, I'm sure I will. But thank you for everyone who has supported the stream. And thank you for modding. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the memberships. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.